Hi, my name is Keisha of New World Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today for our full moon in Aries vlog. And so first of all, pardon the sunglasses, I just really wanted to come out to film this outside. Here on the East Coast, we've just been having some really horrible hurricane-related weather, and fortunately, you know, there is no damage in the area where I live, and my blessings and my prayers go to those who are affected. But the downside of even though there was no damage to where we live, however, it's just been dreary, rainy, miserable weather for weeks, plural weeks. So this is the first truly sunshine-filled, beautiful day that we have had in several weeks. So I just really wanted to just spend the time outside. And on the flip side of that, it's a little bit too sunny, and I feel like the sun may have moved in the sky already, because the last time I filmed, I think I filmed around this time, and the sun wasn't really an issue, but it seems to be today. So pardon the sunglasses, but I really can't see at all if I take them off. So I figure it's best to wear these as opposed to just constantly squinting or having my eyes shut throughout the whole video. So anyway, let's get into it. So as previously stated, this is all about the full moon in Aries. So this upcoming Monday, September 24th, brings a new full moon into our lives. And the full moon is like the crowning glory of the moon cycle. It's when the moon is so full and luminous, it's able to really light our way. And this is the phase of the moon that holds the most magic, the most power, the most charge to really do the hardest and most shadowy, energetic work that we can really throw its way. And, you know, we see this in folklore and legend, when, of course, the full moon is the biggest time for spell work and potions and deep, unfathomable transformations, you know, such as those of legend. For example, lycanthropy and shape-shifting are all associated with the full moon, and with good reason, because it has so much power. And the full moon is the time to really bring our most difficult issues and challenges to the universe for release, for surrender, for forgiveness, and error correction after we've done all that we can with our physical action. So in short, this time is all about using this powerful feminine energy to work with some of the hardest but most important energetic issues that are part of our lives. These being the huge trifecta of forgiveness, of self-correction, and of gratitude. So why forgiveness? Forgiveness is absolutely vital for your mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. And it can also be incredibly difficult to do. So as we go on this venture on Earth, you know, as we set our sights upon goals, and as we take action to achieve those goals and form relationships with others and with the world all around us, painful things can and will happen to us. And due to this, we can tend to hold on to a lot of resentment. And this resentment is corrosive. And, you know, we think it's our right to be angry with people, or as we discuss with ourselves, but it is in fact getting in the way, you know, of really living the type of life that we're capable of. Resentment not only holds us back, but it's toxic. It causes pain and potentially even illness on the vessel that holds it, okay, which is us. Forgiveness is a time to release that toxicity and burn it away. This is a powerful act of the feminine power of surrender. And the full moon is a wonderfully powerful time to really harness this energy and help yourself to shed this bad energy. Okay? So why self-correction? When I use the term self-correction, what I like to think about is a change of direction away from actions that may be leading us in an erroneous and destructive path and towards a path that is the right path for us. So again, during this adventure of life, there are countless, infinite paths to take at all times. However, some of those paths may in fact be the wrong ones, and that they lead us towards causing pain and destruction to ourselves and to others. And the full moon is a peak time in which the moon phases move in one direction. All right, they peak and then they move back into the opposite direction. And this is wonderful energy that we can really tap into to create our own movement in an opposite direction within our own lives. And finally, much more lightly, is the concept of gratitude. And gratitude is also so incredibly important to really live a healthy, abundant, and developing life. The full moon is, after all, the most glorious and generous and full part of the moon cycle. It is the cycle where so many of us, human or animal, admire, and just stare and really react to the moon the most. It's just a proud, beautiful sight to behold. And in that same vein, you should realize the fullness and brightness of your own life and just look at it. And just admire it for its unique and shining beauty, despite all of your previous wishes and complaints about things that you don't have. So now is the time to really list all the things you do have and celebrate them and admire them, just as we celebrate and admire the full moon, in the night sky. So the full moon appears in a different astrological sign every month. And for this month, the full moon appears in the sign of Aries. And, what can we say about Aries? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the sign that introduces the self, the ego, the will. And Aries is the sign of the ram, and it's all about me. Not me personally, but me as in you, as in your personal development and your willpower and your desires. And the sign of Aries is really, it's ruled by the element of fire, first of all. And its motto is, I am. And this sign is all about the power of your own will. It's all about the power of your individuality. It is not about you as a member of your society, your community, your family, or your nation. This is a time and a season for that, but now is not it. Now is all about you as an individual, what makes you unique. Now, this is a powerful and amazing concept, and though our society often demands us to be teammates and selfless and part of a greater group identity, be that our nation or families or community or workplace, it is integrally important to feed, nurture, love, grow, and develop yourself. So any greater good is made up of a group of individuals. Okay, we all know this. All greater good begins at the individual level. So if you want an abundant, happy, peaceful, joyful society, you must begin by creating an abundant, peaceful, joyful individual. Okay, there is no way around it. You must be strong to give strength. You must be joyful to spread joy. You must really love yourself, and take care of yourself in order to love and take care of others. So now, as we discussed, this is the full moon, and as such, it is a time for forgiveness, self-correction, and gratitude. So, for this month, we're talking about the dark side of ego and self. With all this talk of self-love and self-development, what happens when the self becomes self-destructive? What happens when your ego causes you to do things that you're not proud of, that you're ashamed of? What happens when you've learned to actually hate yourself based upon things that you've done? So this time is all about the healing process as it relates to your power as an individual. And the first concept that we're going to explore is that of forgiveness. So this time, the full moon is all about forgiving yourself, as we said. And though we usually discuss the concept of forgiveness, we most immediately think about what others have done against us, and we're leaving an important person out of this equation. Now, at this juncture, you may have one of two thoughts. You may be thinking either, number one, me? I've done nothing wrong. It's all their fault. Nothing, or at least nothing that wrong. And, anything that is wrong with me isn't my fault. It's so-and-so's fault, Or you could be thinking, number two, oh God, here we go. So like it or not, we all have to admit that despite our best efforts, despite wanting to do our best and be our best, we still manage to fuck up. So time and time again, we lash out, we backstab, we insult, we hurt, we scar and scheme and trick and torment others. This is the dark side of personal power. And this dark side, is about using our willpower to destroy and harm instead of to create and enrich. And some of these times we atone for right away, by asking forgiveness of others, and even on occasion forgiving ourselves. But much of the time, we lock and seal these dark moments away, telling ourselves that we are justified in acting the way we did. And this full moon in Aries, we really can take the time to uncover and let rise to the surface all of the guilt, all of the regret, the self-righteousness, and the anger that we keep bottled up for most of the year. This energy, we lock it up most of the year, but it must be faced, it must be dealt with, acknowledged, released, and transmuted in order to maintain a healthy spiritual and emotional balance within yourself and within your world. So let's talk about the 2 reasons this is necessary. Number 1, as previously stated, this is important for your spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being. Though it is certainly important to look out for others, your family, your community, the full moon in Aries is all about being okay to take care of yourself, first and foremost. So when you harm others in aggressive and warlike behavior, including name-calling, arguments, fighting, you in turn create a lot of aggressive and directive energy. And the sheer creation of that energy, though directed at others, is still housed within you. And it is behavior that always, on some level, creates embarrassment and shame and just gets swallowed and tamped down deeper and deeper within you. And this corrosive and fiery energy, if not released, will begin to corrode and eat away at your emotional equilibrium. And the cycle often goes like this. It begins with hurt, or threat, and this in turn creates anger. Anger festers and builds and crescendos into low-frequency actions such as fighting and revenge and attacking others. And we often then internalize the toxic after effects and residue of these low-frequency emotions and actions, and we push it deeper down into ourselves. And this in turn poisons ourselves, but it also spreads the vitriol and the anger and the desire for revenge to others. So, you best believe that you will see the effects of this push back into your face sooner or later. And so I don't know if you've ever seen the horror film The Grudge, either the original Japanese film or the American remake. And if you have seen it and you're a fan, you undoubtedly have an opinion, which is superior, Japanese or American. But for the purposes of this discussion, they're both dead on the mark, And the general plot of both films, in case you're not a scary movie fan like I am, I love scary movies, but the general plot is that an angry act creates an energetic imprint that haunts the place where it occurred. And of course, being a scary story, it involves more than that, and there's anger and murder and all this. But the main gist of it is that an angry, violent act created an energetic imprint that haunts the place where it occurred. And worse than that, this dark energy spreads its virulent, destructive energy with anyone that comes into contact with that energy. And this horror film, this concept translated into a horror film is absolutely horrifying. And it's not too far off the mark in real life, minus the whole undead killer ghost thing, Low frequency emotions like hatred, anger, rage, and revenge are not just destructive and corrosive, they're highly contagious. These energies explode from us, causing great damage and infect the energetic fields of those that experience it. And this energy harms you. It harms you both from within and also from without. And it causes others to harness and wield that same energy and hurl it back against you in turn. Okay? And the number 2 reason this is important is for the emotional balance and well-being of the world. We already mentioned that the contagious nature of angry and aggressive low-frequency energy, that it's contagious. And when others mistreat you, what type of emotional state does it tend to leave you in? When you experience low-frequency energy from others, as, for example, when they were cruel to you or struck out at you or harmed you in any way, unless you make great effort to change it, how does your energy feel? You will most likely also feel low-frequency energy growing within yourself. And this energy will undoubtedly threaten to spill out and affect others. Okay? And if you do lash out at others, how do you feel their energy will develop? So as you can see, harming others, whether through anger, jealousy, insecurity, fear, harming others is participating in a never-ending loop of negativity and pain. And when we hurt others, no matter if they had it coming, no matter if they deserved it, we're creating and injecting more pain into the world. And furthermore, that pain, by its contagious and cyclic nature, will infect and affect people that have never hurt you, that have nothing to do with your relationship with the people in your life. Okay? Pain is the reason for all the horrors that we see in the world, for war, murder, rape, abuse, violence, genocide. All of these things have come from pain. And so this full moon in Aries, we need to recognize the power we have as individuals and the role we each play in adding pain to the world and keeping the cycle of pain going. So how can we end this cycle? How can we stop this never-ending loop of hurt? So 2 important ways to stop the cycle are forgiveness and self-correction. So let's talk about the first of these, forgiveness. This full moon, we need to forgive those who have wronged us or who we have perceived to have wronged us, which of course may not be the same thing. Okay, perception is not always true. And when we forgive, we are in fact committing a powerful act of pain cycle interruption. We interrupt the pain cycle by becoming conscious of what is happening and figuratively throw a wrench in the evil machine. So the more we do this, and the more of us that do this, the more healing our world will have. This pain cycle interruption starts with us forgiving those who have hurt us. This, of course, can and often is, incredibly difficult to do. But this is extremely vital to your own emotional well-being, as well as the well-being of every person on the planet. So this full moon, let's ask, who have you hurt? What have you done to contribute to the cycle of pain in the world? This is the time to change direction. This is the time for us to move away from a destructive path and towards a better one. And really get it out. Make a list of everything you know or you suspect you've done and ask yourself, how can I correct this? How can I make this better? Are there people that you need to ask for forgiveness? Are there people that you need to have more patience with? And so every full moon can be a monthly marker and a reminder to take the step of forgiveness. Forgiveness generally has 2 stages. 1, purging of all the negativity that was passed on to you, and 2, release. The need to forgive is not independent of the understanding of what others have done to you, okay? It is certainly understandable that other people may indeed have done some awful, awful things to you. And that's not okay. However, at this time, during the full moon, it's a time to recognize that and bring it from the shadows into the full illumination as symbolized by the full moon. So in other words, often in life, we skirt around the true depths of pain that others have caused us. When others hurt us, we often try to take back our power in the form of anger and revenge and retribution, and really cursing others, for what they've done. And this often can even be done in a twisted sense of humor. For example, making jokes about how much we can't stand so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And however, during the full moon, it's really time to really drag what's going on deep inside into the full light of the full moon, okay? Humor often covers up deep pain, and now is the time to list out exactly what our pain is and what they did to us. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry. Hell, if you need to break something, inconsequential, like a dish that you brought from some, thrift store or something, that's okay. All right? This is the purging part, and it's all about getting your pain out of your body. Now, once that has been done, it's time for release. And this is the most important part here. As painful as it may seem, you need to forgive and absolve everyone from what they've done to you. It's important because we need to interrupt the pain cycle and do our part to prevent others, including children and future generations, from experiencing that same pain that we have generated. And I think this is best done in 2 parts. Again, letting out your pain and purging all the pain and hurt and anger that's been built within you, and then releasing all of it in an act of forgiveness. And when others hurt us, we tend to hold on to so much pain deep within ourselves and punish ourselves when these emotions leak out. The full moon is a good reminder to give those darker feelings permission and freedom to come out. Let out what people have done to you and how it made you feel. So once it's been done, you need to really release your pain and forgive everyone who has wronged you. This may be incredibly difficult to do, but it is so important. You need to release the pain and anger in order to move energetic toxicity out of your body. And you need to do this for your own personal health. Okay? And don't forget, there's one more person, that we need to forgive here. You need to forgive yourself. And this is an especially powerful time for us to face up to all the wrong we've done and all the pain we've caused others. And it's actually maybe even harder to do than forgiving others. If you're a very strong-willed person with a healthy ego, admitting that you have been wrong can be a tremendously hard thing to do. So how can we do this? First of all, recognize that you're doing the best you know how to do. Life does not come with an instruction manual. We all wish it did. And actions that you take are based upon things that have happened to you in the past. And when you scream at a friend or a loved one because in the past, they've been dumb and annoying and they continue to be dumb and annoying for the 18 millionth time, you're acting based upon past knowledge, right? Wrong. What you're actually acting based upon is your individual past perception, okay? And that brings us to another way that you need to understand how your actions are wrong. Perception. There so often is more than one truth to a situation. You may see something from one angle and reach one conclusion, while someone else sees something from another angle and reaches another conclusion. Which one of you are wrong? Technically, neither of you could be wrong, and both of you could be right. Admitting your part in a bad situation may not be declaring the other person to be totally in the right. It could simply be that, admitting your part in a bad situation or relationship. Now, if you have a hard time forgiving yourself because of your guilt, one thing you must do is imagine speaking to another person who was in the same situation as yourself. If a friend or someone you love dearly came to you, wanting forgiveness, would you berate them and tell them they're worthless and they'll never be forgiven? You most likely would not. You most likely would tell them that they're brave for asking forgiveness, or that they didn't know, what they were doing at the time, and that they're loved and they need to release and heal and move on. So, you need to treat yourself like you would a best friend or family member. You need to treat yourself with love, with patience, compassion, and with mercy. Our culture, for some reason, so often teaches us to be hard and unforgiving on ourselves. As a very, very, lighthearted example, say you had a friend that you invited over for lunch, and they spill a glass of water on your floor and express so much upset over it. They're saying, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do it." You would most likely tell them, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. It was an accident. You made a mistake. You didn't intend to do it. It will be okay. I forgive you. Let's move on." However, when you spill a glass on the floor, it may not be unusual to hear you start berating yourself. Stupid. Oh, why did I spill that glass? God, I'm such a stupid idiot. Okay, does that sound familiar? You need to take care of yourself to make the world a better place. And this includes treating yourself like your best friend when it comes to forgiveness. It's very important. All right? And finally, ending on a happy note, the full moon is all about gratitude and celebrating the fullness and brightness that can be found in your life. So this is where we end a challenging dose of medicine with a dose of dessert. And so ask yourself, what is wonderful about you? What attributes do you have, and what gifts do you bring to the world that you're grateful for? Now is the time to celebrate and dance and blow your own horn about what makes you amazing and how the world is, even in spite of all your flaws and your dark side, a richer place because you are here, okay? Now, if you would like a little ritual or exercise to follow along with, in which you can incorporate all of these exercises, definitely head on over to www.newworldtarot.org, and I actually provided a link nearby, somewhere around, that will actually provide you with the fire and water full moon forgiveness ritual, which I love. It's just a beautiful ritual that can be made as elaborate or as simple as you want, but it basically gives you a framework for incorporating these three aspects of forgiveness, of self-correction, and of gratitude that can just be taken to and practiced every full moon. Okay? It can be adapted to whatever length and level of simplicity works for you, and it's lovely and it's effective. Alright? So make sure you take time to practice self-correction, forgiveness, and gratitude this month. It is vital for the health of your ego and to keep you moving forward in a healthy manner. Okay? So, finally, last but not least, let us pull from our Power of Surrender card deck. Okay, this is a beautiful deck by Judith Orloff, MD, and I like to pull a card from this deck every full moon. Alright, just to see collectively, as a community, as a group, what we can surrender, what we need to work on surrendering. Alright, to help just release our shadows, release our self. So I'm going to ask, alright, what we can work on here. Alright, let's do a little knock and just helps just wake me up, get me paying attention here. And it's just such a beautiful day. I know this isn't probably the best lighting today, but I thank you for joining me outdoors. It just had to do it. Alright, so what can we surrender as a community this full moon in Aries? Alright, to improve ourselves and forgive ourselves. Alright, one more shuffle. Okay. Alright. Wow. Surrender low self-esteem. Beautiful card there. Alright. Surrender low self-esteem. So I'm going to read the message that comes with the card. You deserve success, love, and abundance. Set an intention to identify and release any remnants of low self-esteem. So again, one more time, you deserve success, love, and abundance. Set an intention to identify and release any remnants of low self-esteem. Okay, surrender low self-esteem. So again, awesome. Fits right into our message this full moon in Aries. Okay, and if you are struggling with forgiving yourself or others, is it perhaps a question of having a low self-esteem? And low self-esteem often can come in various packages. You may see someone who is very well put together. This may even be you, and you may consider yourself, I don't have low self-esteem. But when it comes to issues of forgiving others for things that they've done to you, is it because your self-esteem is in such a place that when others have attacked you or wronged you, you're beginning to think maybe it's true. Maybe these hurtful things that they're saying about me, maybe I can't let go, I can't forgive because it hurts so deeply, because I'm starting to doubt myself. I'm starting to think that it's true. This is a question that you need to ask. If you have a hard time forgiving yourself, is it a question of self-esteem as well? It's something that should be confronted. Is it because you have such a low view of yourself that you struggle to really get out of that low point of thinking, beating yourself up and just not letting yourself make a mistake? Are you riding yourself too hard? You're trying to live up to an impossible benchmark. Okay? So really make an intention this month to, as you work on your forgiveness, as you work on your correction, ask yourself, does anything have to do with perhaps having low self-esteem this month? Okay? All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me and putting up with the half shadow, half strange lighting. You know, I will have to work on that, but the weather is just so amazing right now. I really want to come out and connect with nature. And, you know, I haven't been, these past few weeks, we've all been just running from one house to another, one building to another, just because the weather has been so dreary. And so I want to thank you so much, and definitely let me know if you have any questions. Definitely you can post below in the comments. You can, of course, reach out to me. You can be reached at Keisha@newworldtarot.org. I want to thank you so much for joining me this full moon in Aries vlog, and we will see you for the next new moon, which I believe is new moon in Libra. All right. Thank you so much. Be blessed. Take care, and goodbye.